Welcome everybody. Okay, so with us going into a foreign country, I don't necessarily have charting for it, but we're gonna do our best to fly it. It'll be much more adventurous this way, I think. Got my annotations here on the kneeboard, and let's get it pulled up. We can fix this camera just a little bit. That's a better. Set it like that. There we go. Yep. Now you can see the throttles and everything. Okay. And then for this flight, I think we're just going to get up and go. I won't bother with VATSIM or nothing. What was that? Actually. And welcome our first guest to the channel here. This is Luna. She doesn't have much to say, but she's always got something that she needs to be doing. Alright, a little bit of ambience here. Oh yeah. Laminar research. I like that. That was clever. Up there. Okay. Start with flight controls real quick here. They are free and correct. And yes, we are at a airport terminal. I guess they didn't want me over in GA parking. Okay. Bring up this ground handling menu. We're gonna need it. Also need the GPU plugged in. Alright. Same amount of passengers. We're gonna top off our tanks here. There's my coffee. We had that as an empty seat earlier, so. Okay, we got a little bit of excess fuel. We'll burn it off during taxi, so that's all good there. Okay, full chocks. Close the door. It's no. Where are we there? There we go. Yeah, let's release the brakes here. And let's see if there's anything I can actually plan ahead for, because we don't know much about where we're going here. So, we're gonna give us a few aeronautical charts. We won't go into uncharted territory just yet. We can jump over to Monterey. Maybe Durango. That's funny. Yeah, I think our first stop is going to be in northern Mexico. Hold on 1 second here, though. All right, so a bit of technical difficulties here, but it looks like this aircraft only has U.S. waypoint databases. We're gonna fly this thing uh, almost purely VFR. This will be fun. Let's see if I can Google an approach plate here. One from Jeppesen here. Interesting. Kind of arc, I think. Yeah, we'll figure all that out en route. How about we get this thing off the ground now? Alright, let's pull up the checklist. I promise we won't get lost. Much. Okay. CPU is connected, doors are closed. Hang on. Yeah. Won't look too good in the flight sim. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. Okay. Working on some kinks in the setup here. Let's go back over this checklist here. Okay. Oxygen control, pull on. It is on. Oxygen pressure check. All good. Air source as required will set to normal. Okay. Left and right generator switches to off. Okay. Bus tie switch to auto. Okay. Annunciator panel test. PLT switches are armed. Yes, they are. Okay. External lights as required. Gotta get the beacon on. In this case, it needs to turn on here. All right. Let's see. Yeah, taxi light, nav light. Okay. Gear down, 3 green. Okay, fuel quantity is adequate. Parking brake, we did just turn it off. We don't need to worry about ATIS or clearance right now, except for the fact that we get for the Barrow setting. So, go over to El Paso. Right, and what's the altimeter here? $3009. Okay, 3009. Try it with the ICAO code. Oh, sweet. We got it. We have it now. Okay, that'll work. See if I can fix this here. Aha! There we go. Okay. Nice. That's better.
Okay, push card coming. Here we go.
Oh, good. It pulled the GPU. I forgot. Hey, how's it going? Nice for you. I know it's a tad ridiculous that we're using a push cart on an Eclipse, but I couldn't resist. I don't ever get to use that with general aviation. Okay. So while this guy is turning me. Okay, see you later, alligator. Wow, crocodile. Alright, let's get this thing started. We're on a battery start now. That's fine though. Like a cot. And we're just monitoring the engine instruments for a hot start. Looks like we're in the clear. Nice. Okay. Next engine. Gotta love the FADEC. Okay, and let's go over to... Yeah, there's that. So today we are going to Mexico City Airport. It'll be one of 2 stops in Mexico before continuing further into South America. All right, there's a transponder. We're gonna go to altitude reporting. We are squawking 1200 because we're gonna have to fly purely VFR because I can't afford Jeppesen charts. Okay. We're probably not gonna need icing protection right now, but I will put the windshield defog on. Okay. Alright, so left-right generator switches, let's put those on. And the GPU has already been disconnected. I probably should have started one engine first, but that's alright. We're okay. Interesting. I'll just leave that on. Okay. Let's figure out where the heck we're taxiing here. Apple Pencil battery's low. Well, that just won't do. So we got a little bit of a thunderstorm right over the top of us. That's okay. I'm not scared. It's a sim. Let me charge my Apple Pencil up, though. That could be a good idea. Alright. Well, I give that about 15-20 seconds. Where are we taxiing to? Going to taxiway Alpha from the ramp here. Yeah, that should be a good charge on the Apple Pencil for the time being. Gonna take off runway 4 and start heading over that way. After we take off, we can begin discussing our favorite dishes from Mexico. How about that? Alright, we're holding short runway 4 for no reason other than I feel like it. Alright. And let's put on the map. We are all prepared to go fly into unknown territory. Are you guys ready? Are you excited? I am. It's been a while since I did any flights outside the United States. Alright, let's turn on the landing light as well. Okay, and let's get the strobes going. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright. Betty just told me that I have 11,900 feet on this runway. I don't think we'll need all that. This is meant for big planes, not this tiny little eclipse. Alright, we're rolling. Airspeed's alive. Gauges are in the green. We're looking for 100 knots. Rotate. All right, let's crab into the wind. Positive rate. Gear up. All right, somebody tell someone that there's a lot of turbulence up here. Or we could just leave everybody guessing. That's the fun part. Let's back the throttles off a little bit. We're going to go to 97 on N2. We'll climb at about 120 knots. And let's get those flaps up from their takeoff position to clean. Okay, and now that we're airborne, we're going to get the yaw dampener on. All right, and let's start our turn to the south. All right, feet off the rudder pedals there. We got the yaw dampener, so. Ooh, that feels like some rough air. Okay, so I'm also gonna flag heading here of just purely 180 for now. And we'll get a direct GPS course. Oh, you know what? Actually, we can just hold on. PFD. Go to the HSI source. There we go. We got GPS. And localizers live on the GPS. Got a nice steady rate of climb. 1,600 feet per minute. We're at 135-ish knots. Looking good. Looking to intercept that course. Not a good day in El Paso, that's for sure. Looks like it's pretty rainy. All right. Our altitude, I want to climb up to about, go for 30,000 feet. How about that? Let's do an even 30. There we go, 30,000. let's try and speed her up to about 140 knots. A little bit more to the left there. 142 degrees. Alright, seeing as though I don't have any charts, we're going to play it by ear for the approach. If it needs some instrument stuff, I'll pull it up from the web and we'll use that there. But ForeFlight will stay on so that you guys get a good idea of where we are in the flight. I'll just fly by hand until we get up to altitude. Mainly because the autopilot seems to want to fly this plane really slowly. And that, you know, we don't have the fuel for a 2-hour climb to altitude. There's our creepy pilots again, creeping us all out. I mean, that really does look like a dead gaze. Look at that, a little bit of drift. Looks like we have about 5 degrees of wind correction there. I'm gonna set the heading bug here. There we go. And this climb attitude seems to be working pretty nicely. Got it 7.5 degrees nose up. That's giving us about a 4-degree climb according to the velocity vector or a flight path marker. $20,000 feet, only 10,000 to go. So maybe about 8 minutes or so at 1,200 feet a minute. There we go, on course. And now that we're clear of El Paso's airspace and playing around with thunderstorms, how about a nice chit chat? Anybody want to start it off, or should I? Or maybe even a game of I Spy. I Spy with my little eye, something that begins with C. It's a cloud. It's a cloud. It's totally a cloud. I can't lie to you guys. Oh, just back that throttle down just a little bit there. We want to keep it below that 100. This plane is sensitive to overpowering it. You really just want to use max performance for takeoff rolls, and then you roll that throttle back once you're airborne. That nose trimmed up there. $25,000 feet. Maybe about 6 minutes left to go in the climb. Might need to shallow out my climb a little bit, but we'll see here. I notice we're starting to bleed a little bit of airspeed with this nose up attitude. Up in this nice thin air, we're gonna be scooting. I think the winds aloft are really changing up here. Looking at the GPS course. Okay, let's bring it down about a half a bar just to keep that airspeed up. I don't want to go below 130. Right about there, looks good. Okay, we're almost there, guys. Almost to altitude. Bring that nose down just a hair there. There we go. Okay. We're about to go into some cumulus clouds, it looks like, so this ought to be fun. Probably see a little bit of turbulence. There's the buzzer letting us know that we're within 1,000 feet of our set altitude there. Now you'll notice, learning from my instrument rating training, it's a good habit to flag headings and altitudes. Oh good, we broke through. Good. I think we're going to continue up to maybe 31 and see where we're at there. I think 31 is going to get us above all the weather here. But then again, we're probably going to break out and it'll be Cav okay here. Taking some screenshots here. Almost to 31. Let's go ahead and flag that altitude as well. There we are. Kind of overshot it a little, but let's bring her back down. And I basically just want to keep the throttle in until we've gained enough airspeed. Okay, autopilot's been engaged. Now let's find out some stuff about Mexico City as we're on our way there. This is coming from Wikipedia. Okay, the 2020 population of the city was 9,209,000 people. I rounded a little bit there. Oh, of course this thing wants to quit on me here. Oh, looks like we gotta let the camera cool a little bit. This new DSLR setup's kind of disappointing me, gonna be honest. Okay, nice for you asking. If you could only fly one plane in any sim, what would it be? That would be the F-16, I think. To me, that plane has a lot of good memories from Falcon 4.0 way back in the day, and I'd love to fly it a lot more often than I do in the sim. It's actually why I have the setup I do with the side stick. Yeah, I was part of a virtual fighter squadron years ago. we would do, these crazy, thoroughly planned out missions. One of the things about Falcon 4.0 is the dynamic campaign system. So literally every time you'd fly a mission, nothing would be the same. Whether your opposing forces would launch fighters or not to intercept you guys, or things like that. But yeah, we do these monstrous missions, like 6 hours long. Complete with mid-air refuelings and all sorts of stuff. It was a great time. Yeah, I have a knack for aerobatic flight, but I do enjoy flying just in general. So, while I may never fly in the military, in real life or anything like that, uh, it's still something that I enjoy doing. Oh, what did I just do? Did I bump the autopilot? Yep, sure did. Let's fix that. Yes, indeed. Yep. Uh, I was probably about 8 when I got a hold of my first flight simulator, and it was a military sim. It was what do you call it? Something called F-22 Raptor, way back 1998-ish, around there. Um, but yeah, the amount of fun you can have just sort of flying around in a little Skyhawk, learning how the VORs and stuff work. It's pretty great. And a lot of times on this channel, that's what I'm flying is a little Cessna 172, and we're doing ILS approaches. We're flying around in the Rockies and stuff. In this case, the plane was just not fast enough for what I want to do with it, especially given the 2-hour window I usually have to stream with. So I needed something faster and weather capable. A few months ago, I actually did a stream for somebody to help them figure out how to use the VOR. Is there anything in particular that you might be struggling with on it? I could explain it. We could even intercept a radial or something if you want. And do they give me a frequency? They do. 114.2. Oh, good, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And when you get into the instrument flight stuff, uh, VORs become invaluable tools. Honestly, I think that every pilot should really have a good grasp on it because it's a good fallback strategy. I know nowadays we're all learning with GPS and stuff, but when I got my pilot's license in real life, uh, GPS was not nearly as common as it is now for aircraft, and most of the time, VOR was the way to go. Um, yeah, yeah. The ILS, it's a little different from VOR in the way it works, but all the receivers kind of translate it into something that you're going to understand either way, with the needle swinging back and forth. Let's see if this camera's finally ready to turn back on here. There we go. Okay. So um, the ILS, it's basically a VOR placed on its side plus a normal one, if you want to break it down into that. And you've probably seen it with the cross and everything. The way that you fly it, though, is by understanding your airplane. So, like in the Skyhawk, you do the approach at 90 knots, as it's the times and the altitudes and everything for the approach are based off of 90 knots for that airplane. So, you know what airspeed you have to be at. And the next thing is, well, what do you set the power to for the descent? If you set it right, it's pretty close to the bottom of the green arc with no flaps. They reduce throttle to, what is it, 2,000 RPMs, 1,900, something like that. And in the Skyhawk, when you reduce power, the plane automatically starts to want to pitch down. And you almost don't even have to touch it. And you're just looking for a 500 foot per minute, 90 knot range there. And if you do it well, you'll keep that cross centered without putting much effort into it. And then, with left and right deviations, you just want very small changes, maybe 2-3 degrees at most, and you let that needle come towards you, which is a basic principle of flying the VOR anyway, is just small corrections, because if you do these big ones, you'll cross the line, you'll have to come back over. Now you can kind of correct with pitch attitude when you're flying like that. Bring the speed back to 170. I want to save a little bit of fuel here. There we go. Okay. So if you're high on the glide slope, you want to push the nose down to about 5 degrees. That's it. Let it come back into center and bring it back up. Ideally, with the nose attitude of the airplane, any plane really, you're really never going to see more than a 3-degree nose down attitude. And there's a reason for that. Okay, if we look at, here's the approach plate for my home airport, Centennial. Let's see, where do we got here? On some of the newer updated ones, they change the location of some of the information. Here we go. Okay, turn the annotations on. This right here, GS stands for glide slope, okay? And it says 3.1 degrees. That is this angle right here, okay? They're telling you that the descent is at 3.1 degrees. That's good to know. Because in theory, your airplane would never put the nose below that. And in fact, when you're flying slow, you'd have an angle of attack factor in there too. The plane is actually probably pointed to like 2 degrees nose down and descending at 3, just because of angle of attack and some of those basic principles of flying. Yeah, it'll become more handy probably as you start to, just play around and experiment more with the airplanes. But by all means, come back here and tap into that knowledge. Actually, kind of a long flight, isn't it? Look at the nav log here. I got my pilot's license before the iPad really was a thing for pilots. Um, so I learned on pen and paper. But I'll tell you that flying with the iPad is just so invaluable to safety, in my opinion. Um, the amount of situational awareness it gives you compared to just flying with an e-board is incredible. The other day, I had to divert my flight. I was just on a cross country building some time for my commercial, and there was a thunderstorm right over my home airport at Centennial. But I was aware of it because the iPad was there. This flight was just a nonstop touch and go. Well, I did a full stop there, but I landed at the airport, turned right back around, took off, and left back to my home airport. So I would have never known what the weather conditions were like until I got into it. But in that case, because the iPad was there, um, I was able to divert to another airport well away from the problem area and sort it out on the ground and get back up later when it was safe to do so. So, big fan of it. Yeah. And for the first time ever, pilots have access to some really good weather data. Although you have to be aware that, like this image here, it's up to 15 minutes old by the time it gets to you. So these storms, they may move quick. And what you see here might actually be a little bit further that way, for example. That might be here by the time you're actually seeing it. Something to be aware of there. Not perfect, it's not real time, but it's better than nothing. That's also why us professionals don't necessarily fly by looking at the map and where the little icon's pointing. How we doing? We're burning 58 gallons an hour. We got 131 gallons. Let's drop another 10 knots off our airspeed here. See if we can't save a little more fuel. A low cruise. Okay, so let's look at another fact from Mexico City based off of Wikipedia. Very scholarly, I understand. So according to this, Greater Mexico City has a GDP of $411 billion. That was in 2011. Um, which according to this, makes it the most productive urban area in the world. The city was responsible for generating 15.8% of Mexico's GDP. So it's an economic powerhouse. Mexico's capital is both the oldest capital city in the Americas, meaning, the new continent, new world, and one of two founded by indigenous people. Interesting. The city was originally built on an island of, oh, I'm going to butcher this one, but we're going to try it here. Built on an island of Lake Texcoco by the Aztecs in 1325. According to this, that was almost completely destroyed in 1521 by a siege and subsequently redesigned and rebuilt in accordance with Spanish urban standards. Those darn colonizers. Okay. Now, really, I want to know a little bit more about their food. Let's see what I can find here. I live in the Southwest, so I get a lot of Mexican food. But being that I'm in the United States, there's probably definitely some clear differences between recipes and the way it's made, that sort of stuff. So. What do we got here? Give me something, Wikipedia. Here we go. Oh, perfect. Okay. So, anybody who is familiar with South America should know that chocolate is grown there and has been grown there since basically forever. And the cultures down there loved it. So here it's talking in this article, they're talking about how in the 16th century they would drink sweetened chocolate drinks spiced with nutmeg and cinnamon. Very popular in Mexico City. As the colonial era drew to a close, refined multi-court meals had become standard for Mexico City aristocracy. So basically the rich people got to eat chocolate. Man, I couldn't live there. I'm broke. I want chocolate too, though. I used to have a dish of Spanish rice garnished with hard-boiled eggs. That sounds kind of good, yeah. Main dishes were numerous and consisted of stewed or roasted meats, which could be mutton stew with chili, roast chicken stuffed with onion, most commonly beef dishes. 19th century cookbooks rarely included recipes for corn-based dishes, but maize and then its later cousin corn were really, really important to the people down there, and that's just coming from background knowledge here. I mean, that was a staple of the diet. So, of course, we can probably ascertain that the Spanish probably saw it as peasant food and didn't want anybody really taking it culturally as something they can enjoy. I'm I'm just paraphrasing here. Okay, so um, as we head to Mexico City, one of the things that um, I know one of my favorite dishes in terms of meats is a slow cooked pork called pibil. It's so juicy, so tender, and just delicious. Okay, I am going to jump up real quick so that I can take a look at the camera, and I will be right back, guys. Bear with me here. Yes, I do have to climb into this thing. It's the way I built it. Anyways, yeah, went to the junkyard, bought a, well, pulled a chair out of like a Ford, oh, what's that small one? The Focus. I think it was a Ford Focus I pulled the seat out of, and then just built a little wooden base around it. And of course, these little pedestals to hold the joystick and throttle. I actually bolted this down to the table. Well, it's a desk, but so I drilled holes and bolted it. This is still using the regular clamp that I can remove it when I want to. Although, setup feels pretty good to me. Yeah, it's a budget flight sim cockpit with. Um, okay, the chair is a budget chair, but it works out pretty nicely because it's way more comfortable than sitting in a desk chair to do this in. I think I spent maybe a total of $40 to build it. Of course, I mean, I also had power tools sitting around and stuff to be able to, but yeah. The TPM, they don't even make this anymore. It's about 10 years old, and the yoke is the same age because I bought them together. Anyhow, let's see what else we can find out about the cuisine of the city we're going to here, Mexico City. All right, so fast forward to, well, it's, not this century, but it's the last one, 1940s, all right? The first meal of the day, desayuno, that's breakfast, basically, in Spanish. Would have been a light meal of a hot drink like coffee or hot chocolate. Atole, like a corn porridge. A sweet bread or pastry, usually eaten around dawn. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so I don't know. How's it going, Dagon Templar? Anyways, I'm not sure how familiar with a lot of you guys are from, with Mexican food. Um, really, depending on where you live in the U.S., you're going to get either a lot of it or you don't see it all that often. I used to drive trucks over the road, so I've pretty much seen the whole U.S. And I can tell you that there's a night and day difference between, say, getting a burrito in Pennsylvania and getting one in San Diego or Texas or Colorado, where I live. Anyways, here they're mentioning chilaquiles, which is also delicious. And it's actually not that complex of a dish. You take corn chips and they're fried. Yeah. So, um, what throttle quadrant is this? This is a Cessna style throttle quadrant. You are correct. Well, you have a good one. Nice for you. I'll see you next time. Anyways, this is the SciTech TPM. That's what they call it. You might be able to find them still for sale online somewhere if you're lucky, but they did stop making them as when Logitech bought out SciTech. They discontinued that model, and this yoke, when you buy it, it comes with a 3-lever um, throttle quadrant. To me, it wasn't what I was looking for since I fly the Cessna so much and I wanted something that felt like it. but uh, that's unfortunately what they come with. I think Honeycomb is another brand you might be able to check for this. Um, and I think there's one other one that might make it something similar to this. Although uh, the price is considerably higher. So that is something to think about. All right, guys, we are literally about to go into uncharted territory. The airport of Hercules is the last one I have. Inya Hercules. Interesting. Yep, yep. See, I lost mine. And now that I'm starting to work on getting more into multi-engine stuff, that was probably a mistake to lose that. I just didn't care for it much. Um, and I kind of regret it. But anyhow, I am probably actually planning on upgrading this. This is the Saytech X52, which is the whole reason why I got into this. I was very impressed with the X52 because uh, this being one of the first gen models, it had really good accuracy. It was smooth. It, the application of the controls and everything wasn't jagged. This yoke is less impressive to me um, than the joystick here. But yeah, so I have one of the first gen Saytech X52s. This yoke's about 10 years old. This thing is 14, I believe. So it's been around a while. It's seen some stuff. Yeah, that is one of the problems I see with this one here. A lot of times when you're flying, stick, yoke, whatever it is, um, you really you'll trim out most of the weight of the controls. This is true in real life. It's true in the sim. So you have your trim tab. You're adjusting the airplane so that it's fine tuned with pitch, and you should just be able to fly with your fingertips. The thing I don't like about this yoke is that when you do that, right, I'm applying more pressure, more pressure, more pressure, but it hasn't moved yet. Oh, there, now it's starting to move, finally. And you can just feel it jump and skip. And that's something, it doesn't seem to matter what you do. You could lube it up or whatever, and it just doesn't seem to work right. By the way, what kind of like grease or something were you using on the tracks? Because I imagine probably like a white lithium grease or um, maybe like dielectric. No, dielectric would conduct. That would be bad. Um, but I think you get what I'm trying to say here. Was it a grease that had like a long, like it was really viscous? All right, so today, as I mentioned, we're going to Mexico City. Tomorrow, we're actually going to be going to the uh, Tabasco area. Ah, lithium and then WD-40. Yeah. So That's pretty awesome. You're a pilot in real life, yeah. I have a private pilot's license, and I'm working on my commercial, but it's slow going because the money. The ED. Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah, yeah. I was working on my instrument rating uh, since last September, but there just hasn't been enough time. I've been real busy with work, and the budget's just not there to really dive into it as much as I need to get it done. Yep, yep, exactly. Um, it is. It's pretty costly, and while you know, for especially for the instrument rating, flight sims can really help you practice a lot. Oh, you're flying out of Jeffco. Yeah, I fly at a Centennial. That's my home airport. Uh, has been for a real long time. Have you flown the VFR Flyway recently? Right up the west side of town there. And let's see. Oh, you know what, man? That was last year. Holy cow. Anyways, so last year I flew up that flyway, and they give you the altitude you're supposed to stack at so you can, you know, not crash into each other as you fly by, because it's a real tight space and they cram a lot of planes in there, especially the VFR guys that want to get through the Class Bravo. And I remember looking at the chart and looking up, and just because I'm doing a double take, I'm like, am I at the right altitude here? There's a guy flying southbound, and he's on the same altitude I am when he should have been 1,000 feet above me. Um, and he passed by relatively close. And, I kept thinking to myself, I'm like, flying through here can seem kind of nuts at times. I know you guys over at Jeffco, you're right in the action of that all the time. With Centennial, I mean, we are in the Class Bravo, but we kind of have the luxury of getting out of it pretty quickly. And there's not a lot going on the east side of town in terms of aircraft activity. You got DIA in front range, but those guys are way up there. Yeah, on that flight during the return to Centennial, I decided to go the east way around DIA's airspace. So I just did a big circle around town. Got a flight following. They kind of vectored me up into the Bravo briefly as well, because they wanted to keep some of that ILS traffic um, separated from me. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, but interesting. Yeah, I felt like you guys might have been more desensitized to all that craziness, but I am not a fan of flying through the flyway anymore. Um, it was more stressful than I like flights to be. I'm going to use a little bit of time compression here. Yeah, yeah. Although I will say that a lot of the work I did on my instrument rating made me much more comfortable um, handling the radio workload. And I find myself um, taking flight following pretty much on every flight now. And then I really like what that type of practice in flying with attitude instruments and things, what it did for my ability to, fly really good straight lines and be really just in control of the airplane. I think that the instrument rating training really did a great deal for me in terms of airmanship. And like I started this channel last April, I think it was, and I basically I just started streaming all of my training sessions. So I'd go up and whatever I learned with the instructor, I'd come back and rehearse here in X-Plane, and I'd just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it was right on. And I mean, the unfortunate thing is that I ran out of budget to train right as I was almost about to get the endorsement for the instrument check ride. That was a huge bummer, but I'm going to be practicing a lot in here, and through most of these flights on the Around the World series, including, uh, I'm going to be doing a lot of instrument approaches. It's also one of the reasons why I chose the Eclipse instead of flying this in a Skyhawk. Yeah, I know. I tell a lot of people, uh, they say in the textbooks that airplanes fly because of the Bernoulli principle and difference in pressure over the top of the wing and all that good stuff. But what it really is dollar bills. You've just got to keep throwing them at the airplane and it'll fly. Lots of weather right now. And with the flight sim here, I mean, I've basically been doing flight simming as kind of an accidental hobby since I was a kid, you know. But it wasn't always this well set up. And it's just in recent years that I've started just putting more into it because I find it fun. And, like I didn't need the radio stack, but I got it anyways because I loved it. Yeah, I rent from a flying club. I trained out of Flight Sync for my private, and I did the majority of my instrument through there. And then I switched to this flying club. But I might be going back to Flight Sync because, uh, no offense to the flying club I'm at right now. Um, the planes are kind of janky. I had to abort a takeoff just last week. If you fly Skyhawks, Cessna Skyhawks, you're probably familiar with the whole seat rail thing. Well, that happened to me during a takeoff at the worst possible time, and it was a good thing that as soon as it happened, I recognized what happened, and I just pulled that throttle back. I reached over as far as I could to get to the rudder pedal and press on that right brake. Um, and I managed to get the plane stopped. And like, yeah, that I don't need a repeat of that. There goes the camera again. So I've been testing a new DSLR setup. And instead of using my iPhone as the webcam, I finally got a capture card to run with my camera. But my camera apparently shuts itself off um, to prevent overheating. And then you have to wait a minute before you can turn it back on. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to find a workaround for that right now, which sucks. And I thought about um, adding a second camera angle and just have them alternate so that the cameras have a chance to cool. Um, but of course, that means putting more money into the simulator at the moment. Yeah, the climb out actually probably would have been the worst possible time for that to happen. Yeah. Um, and I hope that they get that taken care of. But you know how some of these flying clubs are. Uh, it, where I was at for my private, they were always really professional, and they treated you fairly. They charged it a decent price for the airplane, and you didn't have to worry about whether or not the maintenance on the airplane was going to be a problem. And usually I'm a pretty laid back guy, but when it comes to the plane, there does need to be a certain level of maintenance, and that's why I rent. I'm guessing we have about 2 hours of fuel remaining. Ooh, that's cutting it close. If we got a strong headwind from here, we'd be having issues. Look at that. We got an hour 49 to our destination. Oh yeah, as fair warning, I might be using a little bit of time compression to get us there quicker. Mainly just because I only got so much time to stream, you know how it is. But anyhow, okay. Camera's back online. Anyhow, yeah, that's cutting it close on fuel. And they advertise this plane as having a massive range. And I don't really see that I'm getting it, you know? What's this do? Oh, cool. This feels reminiscent of Flight Simulator X, doesn't it? Hold on. Open up that window again here. Oops. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. I know how to work this, I swear. Okay. So, hey, comm volume. I wonder if this is what's been affecting me not being able to identify VORs. Autopilot. Hold on, hold on. I never noticed that before. That's hilarious. Okay. Got nav, altitude, and flight director. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I love that. They put auto. OTTO. That's one for the ages here. And of all the wealth of information they have here, I still would prefer to look at this. Now, how do I close it? Ah, up here. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I actually use both Pilot Edge and VATSIM. Today, I was in a hurry to get up and flying for the stream. And so I skipped the air traffic control part of everything just to get flying. But last two streams I was on Pilot Edge. Of course, they only have so much coverage, and so VATSIM's the way to go if you're flying international. So you'll probably see a lot of VATSIM here. Yeah, when I do the flight sim, I work by the checklist and I rehearse everything as if it were an actual flight. So run-ups, the magneto checks, everything. Yeah, and so adding the ATC element, trying to get a IFR clearance, all that stuff, it can take way longer to get off the ground than I had hoped for. So good thing about this airplane is you don't have to worry about the battery dying. So you run an APU or a GPU, whatever you want to call it. I guess yeah, GPU. Sorry, being a former truck driver, uh, very similar concept, the APU GPU thing. But an airplane, I guess you would call an APU something that would create electrical power for the airplane if the engine quits. So a GPU is one that you plug into the airplane to keep it powered while you're on the ground. And there is a difference, and I probably should use those properly. But yeah, I do use both of those. I think there's one other one that I haven't been on in a long time, but well, they actually might not even exist anymore. I come to think of it, I just nix what I said. There's only two that I know of. All right, guys, we're gonna use warp speed. Man, would I die to own one of these airplanes. Well, actually, I definitely want to live to actually fly it. That'd be a good idea. Alright guys, we are using a case of get there-itis where I don't have a whole lot of extra fuel. We're gonna get there. And it is X-Plane after all, so I can take such a fuel management risk without fear. But I do need an approach plate for this airport. So, let's see what I can pull up here. Okay, I have a photocopy of some Jeppesen plates from the website, actually, jeppesen.com. Is there anyone that I can use that's just a straight up ILS? Arrival sectors, that looks complicated. It is one of the largest cities in the world, so I mean, it's understandable that they have some really complex approach plates here. This an ILS? It is. ILS DME for runway 5. We could do a circling approach. Yeah, I mapped the flaps to this switch here, and in most planes where I have aileron trim, this is the aileron trim, and then I have pitch trim over here. Although really, I mean, there's so many switches I could use for all kinds of things. Like over here, I have this map for screenshots. You know, because I like to take screens if I have a good photogenic opportunity, you know. And then this is the autopilot disconnect. So I can, you know, just quickly flip that and autopilot will turn off. Oh, no. We'll just wait for the camera here for a moment. 30 minutes to go. We're gonna keep this on probably until we need to start the descent. So I think I have an approach plate that we can use. We'll have to see how this goes though. 115.6 on the nav 1. Alright, so we're getting the ATIS. Stop time compression. There we go. Okay. So 12765. Put that COM 2. One 2765. Turn on our COM 2. And I guess we're not getting anything yet. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I've been building this thing for years, one piece at a time, whenever I can afford it. Looks like we can't pick up the ATIS yet. See if it'll let me over here. It does. Wow. Sweet. All right. Got an altimeter setting 3032. So let's go ahead and put that in. You know, I should have been at 29 or 9 or 2 this whole time. I just, I wasn't gonna keep quiet about that. I'm gonna fess up. I totally didn't change that. There we go. 3032. All right, and disconnect the autopilot. Let's start coming down. All right, up on my left side monitor here, I put up the approach plate. Let's see if maybe I can just put that up on screen here for us because it's going to be more useful than the moving map. Mail. No, on second thought. Yeah, I think we're okay. Let's start focusing on the hand flying part of this. Let's bring the power back a little bit more here. Now let's look at our plate. Okay, that nav1, I've got 115.6 programmed in there for the ILS. Actually, no, that's the localizer. Let's take a look at this plate here and figure out what we're doing. So it really actually just looks fairly straightforward, but there are two localizers they use. And one of the fixes uses the second localizer as an intersection, and then you make your turn into the localizer ILS feather. And the ILS 109.1, let's put that in standby, 109.1. And actually, let's see if we can get a little secondary navigation help and become a child of the magenta line. Procedure, load arrival, ILS, runway 5 right. No stars, no transition. Go for that. See what it looks like on the map. I think I broke it. Look at the flight plan. Oh, there we go. Okay. I see the destination airport. Go down to 25,000. And I guess try hitting direct 2 and see if that fixes it. Yep, there we go. All right, now we know what we're doing here. All right, and then we're gonna select 25,000. Now we're centered back on the line here. All right, let autopilot take the reins again while we continue to find out what we're doing here. The initial altitude we need to be at is 8,800. So we're actually, I think we're going to go ahead and select an altitude down low. That'll work. Hey, good evening. Is that Nick Gresla? Yes is also a good answer. Anyways, I'm starting a approach into Mexico City's international airport. That's Benito Juarez International. And since I'm too broke to afford jet plates, there's no geo-reference plates for me on this approach, or on my iPad or in ForeFlight. All right, let's actually go ahead and cut that autopilot off again and start getting rid of some more altitude here. I'm not sure what's going on there, but check that out. There's some type of condensation builds up on the outside of the airplane there. Trim the nose down just a hair. All right, we got it. About 1,800 foot per minute descent. The outside air temperature, minus 29 at the moment. Ooh, we got a warning. What's this? Fuel quantity. Oh yeah, I know, bro. Yeah. Can you go away now? Yeah, you with the buttons. There we go. Okay. User error. As the acronym goes, PIPCAC. Problem exists between computer and chair. Yeah, we're not doing well in fuel, are we? Don't think that was pre-planned or intentional, but like I was saying earlier on the stream, you know, where you might be more risk averse in real life, I chose the path of get there-itis. And in the simulator, it's okay because reasons. I probably should have stayed up high though. I think that at 21 minutes out, I'm a little too far out to really be thinking about, you know, continuing on with that. All right, we're at 20,000. I'll just put in the power now before we start losing all our airspeed, preferably. Get that thing trimmed. Just want to be nice and easy with the throttles right now because it looks like I'm going to have to preserve some fuel here. Bingo. Got it. We'll set nav, we'll set altitude here, lock ourselves at 20,000, and we're just going to let ourselves get as close as we can. Oh, it'd help if the actual autopilot was on. Auto took over and made a mess of things. How are we doing on time? 18 minutes to final. So from 20,000 feet down to an elevation of 7,300.
Licensee Ado Benito Juarez INTL information Mike. 0 Zulu weather. Wind 300 at 6. Visibility more than 10. Sky conditions 3000 view. Temperature 15. Dew point 11. Altimeter 3032. Arriving runway 05 right. Departing runway 05 left. Advise on initial contact you have Mike.
Okay, we have information, Mike. Okay, where was I? The elevation's surprisingly 7,316 feet. That's impressive. That's a high altitude place, isn't it?
Wind 300.
So from 20, let's say, I'll just round it down to 8. So we're looking to lose about 12,000 feet. And we've got, how much time? 12 minutes to do it. Oh, well, that's easy. 1,000 feet a minute. Let's maybe start our descent now. Now, I'm going to really need to delay extending the landing gear and the flaps and everything. It's a good thing that we're in a VFR scenario because we're at 15 gallons of fuel, and that's cutting it awful close, guys. I didn't mean to accidentally do that on purpose. Hey, what? You gotta add a little drama. Alright, just looking for 1,000 feet a minute here. Yeah, we'll just start setting up for a visual approach. We'll fly an approach next time though, but I think for fuel management's sake, let's just get this bird on the ground before the engines stop making noise. Like how the little 15 gets illuminated red. It's like when the E symbol comes on in your car, you know, the gas gets all the way down to the bottom, and you're like, man, I could put a few more dollars in here, but I think I'm gonna wait a little longer. Okay, skip all those waypoints, and I'm just gonna have it send me direct to the airport here. Okay. All right, I know this is a bit late, but thank you, Dagon Templar, for the follow. That's much appreciated. I can't wait to see you again. Okay, 6 minutes. And I think I see the airport there. There we go. Well, that's unfortunate. Darn DSLR camera. Okay, we're at 13 gallons. Now's probably a good time though. Well, first off, let's four 050. There we go. Okay, but anyways, as I was saying, that was probably as good as time of any, or good of a time as any. Workload, guys, workload. But now's probably a good time to start the checklist here. All right, so lights as required. A gas undercarriage mixtures props. Bring the gear down. Keep our descent going. I want to bring her down to about maybe 120. Go to our first notch of flaps. We're just going to look out for runway 8 right as we start coming down. You know, I do have to admit that I love the in-cockpit sounds that they made for this plane. They're actually really immersive. "100 knots is a good airspeed." Looks like we're pretty good on AOA as well. Man, this place is so nuts, I actually got a frame rate dip. We're going 8 right, or sorry, 5 right. Right now, I'm just flying all this visually. There, we're on glide slope now. I just spent most of that descent on idle. I maybe gunned it a few times to change it a little bit. Flies amazingly well at 95 knots too. I have to start flying the approaches. Maybe this plane can handle an approach at. I'd probably still use one. Now that I'm thinking about it. Guess it would help if I cut the throttle back, huh? Dang, that was butter. 16.3 feet per minute. That was it. Reverse high speed turn here. Oh wow, look at that. I have a diagram. I didn't think that would come up. Where's GA parking? Is there any? I'm going to point this out though. This is actually a very well done airport. I wasn't expecting this coming down this way. But X-Plane does have a way of surprising me sometimes. Alright, let's do our post-landing checklist. I'm probably just going to power down somewhere off to the left over here. But flaps are up, external lights as required. Let's get the strobes off here. There we go. And nav lights, landing lights off. We got the taxi light on. Okay. And we can turn the windshield defog off as well. Oh, I see. That's not all tarmac there. Not get lazy then. We'll go park by the ATC tower and go in there and give them some coffee. They probably need it. Seeing as I wasn't talking to them the whole time. Just kind of landed. Like, yeah, man. Do your job for you. It's cool. Actually, it's because I literally just didn't call them on the radio. It's a large airport. Exactly what I'm looking for. Other like-minded little jets. I'm kind of wondering if Mexico City's on like a scenery pack that I must have. We're gonna park on this little square here. It may be the spot for a hangar under construction, but I'm good with it. Straighten out the nose wheel. Alright. Throttle stabilized 1 minute at altitude, or 1 minute at idle. Parking brake, I just set it. Air source, we're gonna go switch it off. Air source off. Okay, start battery. off. Left and right generator switches off. Bus tie switch off. Battery. Like the checklist they give you in their own instruction manual is missing like so much stuff here. Yeah, we basically made it back on a few cartons of milk. I just want everybody to know that. But we did make it. And now it's a real long walk to customs. All right, well, it's been a pleasure flying with everybody. And I hope to see you guys here again. Guys, have a good night.